Let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're talking about something literally every single one of us does, but honestly, so many of us struggle with it profoundly. I mean, look at the modern world. We're constantly rushing, right? We're pushed to work, to achieve, to optimize absolutely every waking second. And in that relentless hustle, rest has somehow kind of become the enemy. So we're exploring why we actually sleep, not just as some annoying physical necessity, but as a deeply emotional and biological anchor. I know how hard it can be to turn off the noise, so just settle in, take a deep breath, and let's go on this journey together to figure out the incredible things happening the second you close your eyes.
Because honestly, have you ever had one of those nights where you're just tossing and turning, completely unable to catch even a wink of sleep? You're just watching the clock tick by, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and then the next morning you wake up with this totally exhausted body, a completely clouded mind, and emotions that just feel incredibly fragile. You know, you're irritable, your patience is razor thin, and the whole day just feels like this impossible mountain to climb. We have all been there, and it is a deeply frustrating, really isolating feeling.
Which brings us to a massive question, one that really challenges a pretty toxic narrative in our society right now. Is turning off our consciousness every night a biological weakness? For so long, sleep has been looked down on as, a waste of time. Like it's this annoying obstacle keeping us from being productive. But think about it for a second. Why would nature essentially force us to spend nearly a third of our entire lives lying in absolute stillness and darkness? Evolution doesn't make mistakes on that scale. If sleep were useless, it would quite literally be the greatest evolutionary blunder in the history of human biology.
But here's where we completely flip our understanding. From a scientific perspective, sleep is absolutely not a passive shutdown. It's not like your brain just powers off and goes on standby like your laptop. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It is the very moment when this incredibly busy, miraculous operating system fires up behind the scenes. It's a highly sophisticated mechanism, and it's designed entirely to protect and sustain life itself.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the work of Dr. Matthew Walker. He's a professor of neuroscience and psychology at UC Berkeley, and the author behind the groundbreaking book, Why We Sleep. He's dedicated his whole career to proving one undeniable fact. Sleep is not a lifestyle choice. It's just not. It is a non-negotiable life support system. It is literally the foundation that our entire waking lives are built on.
So, what's actually happening when we go under? Well, Dr. Walker points out that when we fall into deep sleep, the brain activates this highly specialized waste clearance mechanism called the glymphatic system. You see, throughout a long day of thinking, working, and stressing out, your brain is actively building up toxic waste products. This includes something called beta-amyloid protein, which scientists recognize as a primary trigger for Alzheimer's dementia. And the way this process works is just mind-blowing. Imagine your brain during the day is like a bustling, chaotic metropolis. It's loud, there are massive traffic jams, and by the end of the day, the streets are just covered in dust, exhaust, and debris. That debris, those are the toxic proteins. It's only when you sleep that the citizens finally go inside and the city quiets down. First, your actual brain cells shrink by up to 60%. I mean, wow. This makes room for the second step where cerebral spinal fluid rushes in. Think of this fluid like a massive fleet of urban water trucks and street sweepers, powerfully washing away all those accumulated toxins. It brilliantly illustrates the reality of our biology. As the source material so beautifully puts it, it is like a silent team of night shift janitors, thoroughly cleaning up the battlefield after a long day of chaos. Without that nightly deep clean from the water trucks of your mind, the city streets of your brain would just remain choked with toxic smog, which ultimately leads to cognitive decline.
But it doesn't stop at just waste removal. Sleep is also the chief architect of your memory. During deep sleep and REM, which is your dream sleep, your brain is in there actively organizing your life. It takes all that fragile, temporary information you picked up during the day and transfers it into secure, long-term storage. It meticulously cuts away the unnecessary details you really don't need, and it connects new pieces of knowledge with the old stuff. This is quite literally the process that makes us wiser, more insightful, and more creative when we wake up the next day.
However, Dr. Walker's research also drops a pretty frightening reality check on us, summed up by this number: 60%. When you deprive yourself of sleep, whether that's intentional or just because you're stressed, a specific region of your brain called the amygdala becomes hyperactive by up to 60%.
To understand why that's such a big deal, let's compare two brain states. On one side, a lack of sleep severely impairs or honestly almost paralyzes your prefrontal cortex. That's your brain's CEO. It's the center of logic, reason, and rational decision-making.
But on the other side, your amygdala, the primitive emotional center of fear and anger, is just firing on all cylinders. This perfectly explains why, when you haven't slept, you aren't just physically dragging. Your mind becomes overly sensitive, deeply anxious, and incredibly vulnerable to the smallest hiccups in your day. You've basically lost all your emotional shock absorbers.
Okay, let's shift our lens a bit, because alongside all this hard data and biological mechanics of modern neuroscience, we also have the profound insights of depth psychologist Carl Jung. He viewed sleep, and particularly our dreams, from this incredibly rich existential perspective. He saw it not just as a biological chore, but as a psychological sanctuary.
Jung believed that sleep is the exact moment when the mask of the conscious ego is finally taken off. I mean, think about how much energy it takes to maintain your persona every single day, trying to be the good employee, the strong parent, the supportive friend. Sleep is literally the only time you get to drop that heavy mask, and it allows you to step into the vast, unfiltered world of your unconscious. It's the dwelling place of your truest self.
According to Jung, the things we experience in sleep, our dreams, aren't just some random, meaningless montage of images. They are the soul's rebalancing act. And this is so vital for understanding why people who are going through psychological trauma, depression, or even just prolonged stress so often experience terrifying nightmares or crippling insomnia. From an existential standpoint, these disruptions aren't a glitch, they are urgent warning messages. When you bury your pain or your anxieties during the day, your unconscious mind uses the stillness of night to force you to look at them. Your mind is desperately trying to process those suppressed emotions and compensate for the psychological wounds you've been ignoring. Honestly, a nightmare is simply your mind screaming for healing. When we view it through this lens, sleep completely transforms. It's no longer just a biological necessity, it becomes a sacred ritual. It's a designated, safe time to intentionally disconnect from the illusions, the demands, and the overwhelming pressures of the outside world so you can turn inward. You get to converse with and actually heal your inner child.
So understanding both the science of that incredible glymphatic system and the deep psychology of the unconscious leads us to a really beautiful truth. Going to bed on time, actually prioritizing your rest, it is never an act of laziness. It is the absolute ultimate act of self-love and self-respect. It's you drawing a boundary, declaring that your well-being matters so much more than that endless to-do list.
When you finally lie down in bed after a long, exhausting day, you have to learn to let go. Let go of all the judgments about what you didn't manage to accomplish, and let go of all the worries about what tomorrow is going to throw at you. You have to understand that your body and your mind have fought so bravely for you all day long, navigating a totally chaotic world. They genuinely deserve to be healed in absolute stillness.
Because at the end of the day, you're not just a machine. Overcoming sleeplessness isn't about violently forcing your mind to just stop thinking. It's about learning how to relax and being deeply compassionate with your own insecurities. And I actually want to offer you a practical way to do this tonight. Before you even get into bed, try a simple brain dump journaling practice. Just take 5 minutes with a pen and paper, not a screen, and physically write down every lingering thought, every anxiety, every unfinished task. By doing this, you're actively discharging those heavy thoughts from your overloaded nervous system right onto the page. It signals to your brain that it doesn't need to hold on to them anymore. Pair that with mindfully disconnecting from the harsh, alerting glow of blue light from your phone or TV an hour before bed. This really simple psychological ritual paves a gentle, quiet pathway for your soul to rest. Because ultimately, the journey of understanding yourself always begins with knowing how to care for your own breath and your own sleep. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. If you found even a little bit of comfort, peace, or understanding in today's exploration, please leave a dot or share your story in the comments. Let's build a space where we all know that on this journey of understanding our minds and healing our wounds, none of us are walking alone. So, as you turn off the lights tonight, ask yourself, what is your mind waiting to tell you the moment you finally stop running? Rest well tonight, my friends, and thank you so much for joining me.